Pete Hegseth has always been a political liability for Donald Trump. The beginning of this administration showed that when you hire a Fox News cabinet, you get Fox News results. And you get Fox News leaks all the time. But it hasn't stopped for Pete Hegseth, because he's elevated texting war plans to committing war crimes. And it's no surprise, this is the most incompetent person we've ever seen put in a presidential cabinet. And it is why Donald Trump is now ready to abandon Hegseth, especially after a newly leaked video is exposing Hegseth admitting to his own criminality. Yes, he is incriminating himself once again, and we are going to get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into the leaked video that has Trump panicking and abandoning Pete, I want to start with what Rachel Maddow had to say about what is the beginning of the end for the Secretary of Defense.
Fact out into public view, and I wonder your thoughts on all of it.
I am disturbed by this, I think, as everybody is. I was taking a step back from this, Nicole. I don't understand why we're going to war with Venezuela. And I'm not sure the administration has even bothered to try to come up with anything even internally coherent in terms of explaining why Trump has proclaimed that we are at war with Venezuela. My sense is that they wanted to use the Alien Enemies Act to illegally deport people, arrest and deport people from this country that actually weren't subject to deportation. They decided the Alien Enemies Act was a way to do that. They then realized the Alien Enemies Act required a war, so then they declared a war. Then they needed a reason for the war, so then they reverse engineered some sort of reason for the war. Ostensibly right now, the reason for the war is to stop drug trafficking into the United States. Today, the man convicted of the largest volume of drug trafficking in the history of the United States was just freed from prison by Donald Trump, the former president of Honduras. So clearly, if that's the area of focus, that isn't the justification for this war. So what are we doing there in the first place? Why are we blowing out of the water and killing people in boats with outboard motors, some of which aren't even pointed towards the United States, let alone verified to have drugs on them, let alone even if they were coming to the United States and they had the capacity to reach the United States and they were filled with drugs, why isn't it possible to just interdict them the way that we do with the Coast Guard, where you go and take the drugs and then put those people on trial and investigate and then follow the drugs to their source of origin and then take care of it there? Like, none of this makes any sense. It feels like they bumbled themselves into a profoundly incoherent and illegal situation in which they decided the one true benefit they were getting out of all of it is that they were getting video game style visuals to play on Fox News and put on TikTok. And they liked that. So now they have put this admiral, the commander of Southern Command, every senior officer in that command, and all of the servicemen and women who serve there in the position of potentially being held liable for murder or war crimes until the statute of limitations on those matters runs. And I don't even know what it would be. And by backing and bumbling and symbolically rambling themselves into this mess, I'm less worried about the fate of the bad guys who have gotten us here than I am about the good people who've been put in the way of this mess. And from Admiral Bradley on down. And it's a catastrophe. I think Pete Hegseth, it's impossible to imagine that he survives this as Secretary of Defense. I think he must resign, and I think Republicans will ask for that ultimately once they investigate this. But this is a disaster for this generation of people serving in the United States military.
It is impossible at this point for Hegseth to try to skirt accountability really in any form from Donald Trump or Sir. I don't know why he wouldn't throw Hegseth under the bus at this point. Loyalty to Pete certainly isn't getting you anything, and it is only fracturing the MAGA coalition even more, which I think is what Donald Trump is worrying about most at this point. That, of course, covering up the Epstein files, but he recognizes that even Republican members of the House and Senate want a full investigation into Pete Hegseth. And that is something he really just can't deal with right now, is his poll numbers hit historic lows. And so Donald Trump has no fealty to Hegseth. There's no reason to stick up for him, especially as a leaked video that has resurfaced is exposing Pete Hegseth, admitting that the crimes Pete Hegseth committed should put him in jail. Amidst all this, a new report from the Washington Post states, for Trump, Heck says, take no prisoners approach is a growing liability. Investigations are mounting into the legality of strikes that have killed scores of people in the waters of Venezuela. The article continues. Now, the political price of Mr. Hegseth's tenure at the Pentagon has increased as investigations mount in the legality of strikes that have killed scores of people in the waters of Venezuela. His take no prisoners, leave no survivors approach has led even Republican supporters to demand answers. So far, few have been forthcoming with claims flying that Mr. Hegseth's orders might have led to the commission of war crimes, if not by the secretary, then by senior commanders following his general orders. Mr. Trump sounded over the weekend like he was putting some distance between himself and his defense secretary. Of course, Donald Trump is putting distance between himself and Hegseth. There is quite literally nothing Donald Trump hates in this world more than accountability when he is screwing up. But the Hegseth thing as it relates to Republicans, calling it the Hegseth thing is crazy. We have been on so many scandals with Pete Hegseth that this is now a thing. Him committing war crimes, I'm like almost casually referring to, as we know, the Hegseth problem right now. I really don't think we can get numb to this. And that is an admission by myself that we have. And I am sorry for that. We have to be hair on fire. Not to use that phrase as like in a ridiculous freaking out way. But Pete Hegseth is a murderer. He killed people. That's what's happening right now. This is not like a little political football. It's going back and forth. And, we're trying to have an argument about why, MAGA maybe isn't that great. No. Pete said there's a murderer, and he will continue to be a war criminal and carry out war crimes unless there are some serious consequences. And it is why I think right now, Donald Trump understands that those consequences are going to come in some form or another. Either Republicans will investigate Pete Haig's death, he will ask them to defend him, and they will resign, or Donald Trump can just give him the boot himself. But it also doesn't matter, because if he does, Democrats will still investigate Pete Hegseth. And I think we have to be very forthcoming and forward about what we want those investigations to look like. I think Republicans only respond to intimidation. Whether it is Donald Trump posting away on Truth Social, saying that he's gonna primary, them are making it very clear that they are about to lose in a shellacking in the midterms. Republicans only speak one language and it's fear. It's true because they are scared, they are insecure, and they have no backbone, right? So they need to be LED in the direction of doing what we want. And that doesn't mean they're gonna investigate Pete Hegseth, but they better know that consequences are coming. And so I think Democrats should be very open. Yeah, we don't stand for war crimes. If you want to say that makes us crazy radical liberals, because we don't believe in, unilaterally and unjustifiably and without cause or reason and indiscriminately killing people, that makes us radicals. Go for it. Like, try to pitch that narrative. I dare you, please. Because as much as Jesse Waters is gonna cry that Democrats are defending narco-terrorists, and Democrats are, Donald Trump just pardoned a man who brought 400 tons of cocaine into the country, poisoned countless Americans with drugs, and he pardoned him. So try to make that argument without sounding like the asshole that you are, Jesse Waters. They're not going to be able to. I also don't think that Democrats should do this thing, where we kind of just like cede the ground to Republicans and allow them to define us as not caring about this issue. We should absolutely say, just because we don't like war crimes doesn't mean we also like drug traffickers. And also, look, Donald Trump is pardoning one. I don't think we should get scared and run away from it and think to ourselves, well, maybe we shouldn't call out Pete Hegseth, because if we do, people might think we're tough on crime. No people are smarter than that. Just make the argument and make it clear that Republicans will be held accountable in the end, because this is their cross to bear. And that is what Adam Schiff was talking about. Of course, there will be investigations coming in the Senate. So I had this to say right here.
So all of this is unlawful, but if there was an order to deliberately kill these two survivors, that moves unlawful, unconstitutional into the realm of war crimes. And it was interesting watching that press conference with the president in HEGSETH, where he appears to read carefully worded language along the lines of the admiral took action to destroy the ship and eliminate the threat. And I think the reason he worded it that way, the reason probably lawyers told him to word it that way, is they want to, I think, try to distinguish, oh no, they weren't trying to kill the survivors, they were just trying to destroy the boat they were on. That's a very flimsy read, I think, to try to hang their hat on. If indeed HEGSETH ordered for all these people to be killed, and the admiral acted on that order, whether HEGSETH was in the room or he wasn't in the room, and I think you're right to be entirely skeptical of any claim HEGSETH makes about what he knew or didn't know. But if he gave the order to kill everyone, then he is responsible for the killing of those survivors and a potential war crime. I think the only way we get to the bottom of this is by analyzing the video, audio if it exists, but also having the admiral testify and others who were present testify so that we can hear firsthand what did they see, what did they know, what were the orders, what action did they take.
Well, we just heard Roger Wicker, the Senate Armed Services Committee chairman, say in no uncertain terms that he and the committee are going to see every bit of video and they're going to hear every bit of audio. He's determined to get all of that evidence, and he does have the power to do that.
He certainly has the power to do it, and I hope that he will. I think he seems very serious about it, and I know Roger. I think he's determined. Will the administration provide it? Will they need to somehow subpoena it? Are they willing to go to the mat to fight the administration for that? Are they going to go beyond privately interviewing the admiral? Will they conduct a public hearing? Will they allow the public to see the video and audio so that it's not described to us by third parties? There's a lot of variation in what kind of oversight, how rigorous it can be. If it's going to enjoy the public confidence, I think it has to be done out in the open. And I hope on a bipartisan basis that they will persevere and insist.
We need to be aggressive on this issue. We need to be aggressive in calling out Pete Hegseth's death. I believe that there is some queasiness within the party right now about a possible impeachment of him if he were not to resign or be fired. I will not tolerate that. Pete Hegseth is a criminal. He should be impeached. I hate this idea that, oh, well, you know, it might not be the most politically expedient thing at the moment. Maybe there's other stuff that we should focus on. I think we should do what's right. And if Pete Hegseth broke the law, and if Pete Hegseth committed impeachable offenses, and then you should be impeached. It's that simple. And we are going to say that on the show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around in the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.